Welcome to RWG Publishing. You know, when we first dove into this book, My Spiritual Mom, it was Kami's journey that really struck us.
Uh-huh.
You know, that search for genuine connection.
Oh, absolutely.
It's something I think we can all relate to.
It is.
This idea of yearning for something more, something deeper.
Yeah. And in this deep dive, we're going to unpack that journey with Kami Kane as she kind of navigates those feelings of being a little bit lost in this really successful family.
Yeah, totally.
Materially wealthy, but, maybe emotionally a bit barren.
Yeah, and how she finds that sense of belonging and purpose in these unexpected places, right?
Yeah, it's really about...
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah. It really is. And it's how those initial feelings of being a little bit of an outsider in her own family kind of spurred her to seek something more, something bigger.
So let's jump into chapter 1. We're introduced to Kami's world and her family life. And on the surface, everything looks perfect. Her dad, he's the CEO of Barry's Treats. Her mom is super involved in charity work. But Connie's experience within that environment is totally different, right?
It is, yeah. Her self-perception is just so different from that image of success.
Right.
Like, she describes herself in very ordinary terms, and she feels like she doesn't measure up. You know, her siblings, Andrea and Jack, they seem to embody everything her parents value.
Yeah. Perfect children.
Yeah. Andrea excels in homeschooling.
Right. It's grade A's.
Yeah. And Jack is this star athlete.
Oh, wow.
At an Ivy League school.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah, you can see how...
It sets the stage, right?
It does, for her feelings of being the odd one out.
The odd one out, yeah. And she even mentions overhearing comments.
Right.
And how she was never acknowledged.
Yeah.
In all those articles about her dad's success.
Uh-huh.
It's like she was invisible.
Yeah, like she wasn't even there.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering, what impact do you think that had on her?
Oh, that feeling, of being unseen, unheard.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. It erodes your sense of self-worth.
Right.
And fosters that isolation.
Yeah, even in like a big bustling house.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter where you are. If you don't feel seen, you feel alone.
Yeah, totally.
And then on top of that, her negative experiences with both homeschooling and private school really just add to this feeling of not fitting in, not belonging.
Anywhere, not just at home.
Exactly. So
she's living this huge mansion, 5 stories, an elevator, all the things.
Oh.
I think a lot of people would think of as the dream.
Yeah, for sure.
But for Kami, it became this place of ice-cold loneliness, as she describes it.
Right, because it's not about the material possessions. It's about that connection.
That human connection.
Yeah.
Right. It's so interesting because...
It is, the contrast is so stark.
Yeah.
They have this picture of perfection, this family.
Totally.
But inside...
It's empty.
It is, for her anyway.
So she's searching for something more.
She is, and that's where Abby comes in.
Okay, so chapter 2. Tell me about this new character, Abby.
Well, she's a classmate.
Okay.
And she's really pivotal because she's the first one to offer genuine interest towards Kami.
Okay.
And she does it by constantly inviting her to church events.
Okay.
Bible studies, youth group, even the Easter production.
Right. And Kami's not thrilled about this.
No, not initially. She finds it annoying.
Really?
Yeah, religion's not really a big part of her family's life.
Right, they go to church.
They do, but it's more out of...
Obligation.
Yeah, obligation than actual faith,
Right. So she's resistant.
She is, but Abby just has this...
What is it about Abby?
She's just joyful and warm. She just radiates it.
Okay, so she's drawn to that.
Yeah, and her mom too, Mrs. Baker. She's the same way.
Okay, so it's like a different energy.
Totally different from what she's used to.
Yeah, and during this time, we see Kami trying to find solace outside of her family.
Yeah. She volunteers at the front desk after school.
Okay.
Which is interesting because...
It's escape, right.
Yeah, I think it's more than just filling time. It's about being somewhere else.
Yeah.
Somewhere she feels useful.
And this is where she meets Mrs. Konsky.
Yes.
The guidance counselor.
Yeah, and they start therapy sessions.
Okay, so she's actively looking for support.
She is, beyond her immediate family.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, really significant.
So in chapter 3, we get a deeper look into Kami's home life.
Okay.
And Rodgers refers to it as this kind of domestic discord.
Right. There's a lot of tension.
Yeah. What's going on with their parents' relationship?
Well, they argue a lot, mostly about money.
Okay.
And there's just this emotional distance between them.
Yeah. No real connection.
No, not really. And Kami's way of coping is to just get away.
To physically escape.
Yeah. She goes driving.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's during this time that she finally gives in to Abby's invitations.
To the Easter production.
To the Easter production, yeah.
Okay. What was that like for her?
Well, at first she's like, I'm out of here.
I'm not going to stay.
Yeah, but she ends up being captivated by it.
Really?
Yeah, the special effects, the live animals, the whole story.
Okay, so it's more than just entertainment.
Yeah, it really touches her.
And after the show, she meets Mrs. Baker. Abby's mom, Marcia.
Yeah, Marcia.
And she gets introduced to the youth group.
Right, and this is a big turning point.
Okay, how so?
Well, she meets Marcia, who is just this embodiment of warmth,
right,
and acceptance.
Right, everything she's been looking for.
Yeah, and she also meets Tommy Swisher.
Okay.
Who gives her all the info about the church's activities.
Okay.
And for the first time, Kami feels like she belongs.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, but then she goes back home.
Oh, right. Back to reality.
Back to reality, and those feelings fade.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so chapter 4 is a step towards faith.
Okay.
And despite those feelings fading, something from the church experience must have stuck with her.
It did, yeah.
What happens that leads to this change?
Well, she goes to church with her parents on Sunday.
Okay, like they always do.
Yeah, the whole routine,
Yeah.
Dressed up, but not really engaged.
Right.
But this time, the pastor's message really gets to her.
What's the message about?
It's about feeling alone and lost.
Oh, wow.
And he invites people to come to the altar for prayer.
Right.
And Kami feels this pull.
Internally?
Yeah, like a whisper saying, come to me.
Oh, wow.
Follow me.
And she's hesitant.
Oh, yeah, she's worried about what her family will think.
Right, right.
But she goes.
Wow, that's a big step.
It is. Yeah, she meets Ruth Ann Webb at the altar.
Okay.
And she takes the step of inviting Jesus into her heart.
Okay.
And immediately, Ruth Ann invites her to the God Loves Me Bible study.
Wow. They move fast at this church.
They do, but it's really significant because Kami feels this genuine care from Ruth Ann that she doesn't get at home.
Right, of course.
And then her parents find out.
Oh, I bet they're not thrilled.
No, they're not. They're cold. They're disapproving.
Yeah.
They make it clear they don't like religion.
So now she's got this conflict.
Yeah.
Between her family and her faith.
Exactly.
And she chooses her faith.
She does, yeah. Chapter 6, she goes to the Bible study.
Okay, that's embracing a new path.
Right.
And that must have been a hard decision.
It was, yeah. She's nervous. She's got social anxiety.
Right.
And she doesn't know anyone there.
Yeah.
She's afraid of being judged.
Right.
She even tries to keep her family name vague.
Really?
Yeah, she doesn't want them to know who her parents are.
Wow, that's interesting.
But the group is amazing.
Okay, tell me about it.
Well, it's the opposite of what she's used to.
Yeah.
Everyone's welcoming, accepting.
That's good.
Yeah, Ruth Ann introduces her to the other members.
Okay.
Ileana Reyes, Jessica Rivas, Tommy Swisher, and Marcia Baker.
Okay, so she's already met Marcia.
She has.
Okay.
And Ileana opens the meeting with a prayer.
Okay.
And she emphasizes community and support.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she says, we do not do life alone. We need each other.
That must have been so powerful for Kami.
Oh, absolutely. And then they discuss this passage about Jesus's desire for a personal connection with each individual.
So Kami feels safe enough to share.
She does, yeah. She talks about her dad and how dismissive he is.
And how does the group react?
With understanding.
Good.
Yeah, and Ruth Ann even asks Kami to share her thoughts on the text.
Wow, so she's starting to find her voice.
She is, yeah. It's really beautiful.
So now let's jump to chapter 12.
Okay.
And this idea of Kami creating a new identity for herself.
Right.
What happens in the Bible study that leads to this?
Well, they're talking about name changes in the Bible.
Okay.
Like how Abram became Abraham and Sarai became Sarah, a new purpose.
A new identity.
Yeah.
Given by God.
Right. And Tommy brings up this proverb.
Okay.
It says, a good name is more desirable than great riches.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So they decide to look up the meanings of their own names.
Okay, fun.
Yeah. They find a baby name book.
Okay.
And they start going around the group.
Okay.
Ileana's name means torch or bright.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Jessica's means God beholds.
Wow.
Tommy's, which is short for Elizabeth, can mean God's promise.
Okay.
And Ruth Ann's means a friend of grace.
Wow, they all have such beautiful meanings.
They do, yeah.
So what about Kami?
Well, her given name, Kami, means the crooked nose.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not so great.
No, especially with all her insecurities.
Exactly. But then Ileana keeps reading.
Okay.
And she finds that Camille, a derivative of Kami, means the priest's helper. Oh, wow, what a difference.
Right, and Kami's just like, I want to be Camille.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, she's like, I am not the crooked nose. I am the priest's helper. I will never be the crooked nose again.
That's so powerful.
It is, it's a complete rejection of that negative self-image.
Yeah, and an embrace of her true identity.
Exactly.
I love it. So chapters 8 and 9 focus on mentorship.
Okay.
Specifically with Marcia Baker. Tell me about their relationship.
Well, Marcia reaches out to Kami.
Okay.
And she offers to go over her answers to this self-assessment questionnaire.
Okay.
And they meet at the Owl Diner.
Okay.
And Marcia's approach is so gentle.
Good.
Yeah, she doesn't judge at all.
Okay.
But she's also very direct.
How so?
Well, she just says to Kami, you do not like yourself.
Wow, straight to the point.
Yeah, she's like, and you do not like your life. Why is that?
That's a good question.
It is, yeah.
So what kind of insights does Marcia offer? Well, she starts by recognizing Kami's skills from her volunteer work. You know, she points out her customer service skills and her organizational abilities. She's like, these are strengths, not weaknesses.
Yeah, someone finally sees her.
Yeah, she even says that her volunteer work is a stepping stone into your great future.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and she notices that Kami really enjoys connecting people to the right information.
Okay.
When you know what is going on and when you feel useful.
That's insightful.
It is, yeah, and she really shows that she cares.
Okay.
And she encourages Kami to keep talking to her.
Wow, so she's got a mentor now.
She does, yeah, it's really sweet.
So, chapter 13.
Okay.
This is where we see Kami start to share her story.
Right. Marcia asks her to share her testimony.
Okay. Her background, her faith journey.
Yeah, and at first Kami's a little sarcastic.
Really?
Yeah, she talks about her privileged upbringing, but in a way that highlights the emptiness of it.
The lack of connection.
Yeah, and Marcia is surprised to learn that Kami doesn't want to join the family business.
Right.
And she suggests that God has placed Kami in a unique position to minister to her parents.
Really?
Yeah, through her life, her example.
Wow, that's an interesting thought.
It is, yeah.
And then they talk about prayer, right?
They do, yeah. Marcia asks if Kami prays for her parents.
Okay.
And Kami admits that she doesn't.
Okay.
And Marcia suggests that maybe that's a good place to start.
To start praying for them.
Yeah, she's like, it could be the first step of your story.
Wow.
And then later on, Marcia tries to talk to Kami outside her house.
Okay.
But her mom comes out and she's really upset.
Oh, no, that's awkward.
Yeah, it shows that there's still a lot of tension.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so chapter 14, Finding Freedom in a New Father.
This is a big one.
It feels like a turning point.
It is, yeah.
What happens here?
Well, first of all, Kami's grades start to improve.
Okay, so things are getting better.
Yeah. And Marcia reassures Kami that they're still friends.
Good.
Yeah, despite her mom's reaction.
Okay, so that's important.
Yeah, and then at Bible study, they talk about obeying God.
Right.
Even when it conflicts with what your parents want.
Right. So she's learning to prioritize her faith.
Exactly.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah. And both Ruth Ann and Marcia encourage Kami to be her own person.
To not let her parents' negativity define her.
Exactly. And this leads to this huge emotional release for Kami.
Okay, like a breakthrough.
Yeah, she feels free.
That's amazing.
And she finds comfort in these verses about God being a loving father.
Okay, like what?
Like Romans 8.15 and 2 Corinthians 6.18.
Okay.
And she really embraces God as her father.
A father she never had.
Yeah, the one who truly loves her.
That's beautiful.
It is.
Chapter 15 is Testing the Waters of Love.
Right.
And it's so moving because Kami decides to act on that love. She actually tries to show affection to her parents.
Yeah. She tries to connect with her dad in the theater room.
Okay.
And her mom in the hot tub. Yeah. And they're just not receptive.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they're emotionally unavailable.
That's so sad.
It is, but even though she's rejected, she feels this inner peace in the sense of being loved by God.
Wow. So she's finding that love.
She is.
Even though it's not from her family.
Exactly.
And then we move into chapters 16 and 17.
Okay.
Hesitation and a shift in calling.
Right.
Ruth Ann sees something in Kami.
Yeah, she calls it a merry spirit.
Okay.
And she invites her to join the prayer team at church.
Okay.
but Kami's nervous.
She's not sure she can do it.
Yeah, she doesn't feel equipped to pray for others.
Right.
And then during a Wednesday night service, she has a panic attack.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and she has to leave the sanctuary.
Wow.
Yeah, so she realizes maybe the traditional prayer thing isn't her gift.
But Ruth Ann is understanding.
Oh, total. Yeah, she reassures Kami that there are other ways to serve.
Right, and that everyone has unique gifts.
Exactly.
So in chapter 20, discovering her place to serve.
Yeah.
Kami finds her niche, right?
She does. She starts volunteering at the guest center.
Okay, with Tommy.
With Tommy, yeah.
Okay.
And she's nervous at first.
But she's good at it.
Yeah, she's surprisingly good at connecting with people.
That's great.
And she realizes that she feels like she has spiritual moms.
Oh, wow.
At the church.
That's beautiful.
It is, yeah. And then she has this conversation with her parents.
No.
Yeah, they're still not happy.
They want her to do something else.
Yeah, they try to control her future.
But she's not having it.
No, she's finding her own way.
Yeah, good for her.
And she's got the support of the church.
Right, that's so important.
Yes.
Okay, chapters 24 and 25, this is all about forgiveness.
It is, yeah. Kami's not feeling super comfortable
at
the guest center anymore.
Okay.
So she talks to Tommy about it, and Tommy encourages her to explore different options.
Yeah.
She's like, find what you enjoy. Mm-hmm. And she suggests that maybe Kami could co-lead a small group.
Okay.
And Kami's like, no way, I'm too young, I don't know enough.
Right.
But then she gets a call from Lori Lester.
Okay.
Inviting her to co-lead their Freedom 5 group.
Okay, what's that about?
It's all about letting go of offenses.
Okay.
And forgiveness.
Wow. Heavy stuff.
It is, yeah. And Kami's really resistant.
To forgiving her parents.
Especially that, yeah.
Yeah.
But Chuck and Lori,
okay,
they talk about the benefits of forgiveness for Kami's own well-being and her relationship with God.
Yeah, it's not about them.
Exactly.
It's about her.
Yeah, so Kami starts to take steps towards forgiveness.
Okay.
She even prays for her parents.
Wow, that's huge.
It is, yeah, and she realizes that she doesn't need their approval anymore.
That's so powerful.
It is, yeah, she's free.
So now we're in chapters 26 and 27 at New Beginning and sharing her story.
Yeah, it's Tammy's last day volunteering at the school, and Miss Komsky gives her this really sweet card.
A goodbye card.
Yeah, she says she's been inspired by Cammie's faith.
Oh, wow.
And that she's going back to church.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is, yeah. And then Cammie moves out.
Really?
Yeah, into the guest house on her parents' property.
Okay, so she's still there, but she's got some space.
Exactly. And she keeps praying for her parents.
Okay.
But she's not trying to change them anymore.
She's letting go.
She is, yeah. She's trusting that God will work in their lives.
And she's actively involved in the Freedom 5 group.
Yes.
Sharing her testimony.
And she's fully embraced her new identity as Camille.
Daughter of the Most High.
Yeah, not defined by her family anymore.
That's so awesome.
It is.
So the epilogue, this is where we see where she ends up.
Right. She's having lunch with Marcia at the Owl Diner.
Okay.
And she's reflecting on how much she's grown. And she says she wants to make a difference in the world. Yeah. She wants to share her story.
Okay.
And maybe even write books.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, to help others find freedom.
I love that.
And her perspective on her parents has changed.
How so?
Well, she's forgiven them.
Yeah.
And she's given them to God.
Okay.
But she's also maintaining healthy boundaries.
Right, that's so important.
It is, yeah. And she trusts that God will answer her prayers.
In His time.
In His time, exactly.
So she's found peace.
She has, yeah. And the epilogue ends with her getting ready to participate in the church's Easter production.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a symbol of new life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And we also learned that she's been working with a writer.
Really?
Yeah, to share her story.
So that's how this book came to be.
Exactly.
Wow, that's so cool.
It is, yeah.
So Cammie's journey is a testament to finding belonging and purpose beyond those family expectations.
It's about the transformative power of faith.
Yes.
And finding a supportive community.
A spiritual family.
Yeah.
We encourage all of our listeners to check out this incredible book.
My Spiritual Mom.
By Sunshine Rodgers.
Yes, you can find the link on Amazon.
In the show notes,
In the show notes.
And we'd love to know what resonated with you about Cammie's story.
Absolutely.
What steps might you feel inspired to take in your own life?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing this book to us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening to the Deep Dive Podcast.